Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, the first MCU film directed by Sam Raimi. But how was his film? Doctor Strange casts a forbidden spell that opens the doorway to the multiverse, including alternate versions of himself, whose threat to humanity is too great for the combined forces of Strange, Wong, and Wanda Maximoff. More MCU content, but obviously I was very excited about this film. I think Doctor Strange is a very interesting character, and I love Sam Raimi. If you watch some of my reviews, you know that those Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies have meant so much to me growing up for my love for films and everything like that. And I love all the other movies that Sam Raimi's made. I love the Evil Dead movies. He has this campy, unique, and colorful style to his films. And when I heard that Doctor Strange 2 would be somewhat of a horror film, would be the MCU's first attempt at a horror film, and they're going to get Sam Raimi to direct it, who has also done horror and superhero films, I thought that was perfect, and I couldn't wait to see what he could do with the MCU. And I'm happy to say I had a blast with Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. This film is bonkers. It's fucking strange. It's weird. It's crazy. It's all over the place, but in a good way. The first thing I want to talk about is Sam Raimi. You can just feel his presence behind the camera with this film. The style, the editing, everything just feels so Sam Raimi. You can tell that Marvel Studios let Sam Raimi do whatever he wanted. They want him to make his version of a crazy-ass MCU movie. Yes, there are tie-ins to other MCU movies. There's things that are set up for later MCU movies, but you can tell how it's shot, how it's directed, the vision of everything, which is very Sam Raimi. There are so many campy moments that were fucking amazing. The shots, the editing, the color, the style of all of it just felt so different than what we normally get in an MCU film. And it felt so refreshing. And that's by far the best part about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. There are a lot of sequences, scenes, shots, character designs, everything like that that I'm just not gonna forget, because it felt so unique. It felt so creative and different. And it didn't fail. It didn't feel too over the top. It was perfect for what Sam Raimi was going for, and I think it really worked in this film. Right from the beginning, this movie starts off hot, and it really never cools down. You are thrown into the shits pretty much right away, and there's so much I want to talk about with the plot and what happens and things we see, but that would be spoilers. I'm going to keep this spoiler free, so I'll talk about the performances. Obviously, Benedict Cumberbatch is great as Doctor Strange. Does a great job here, but the best performance here is Elizabeth Olsen. This is the best performance she has given so far as Wanda, and Wanda is extremely interesting here and fucking badass. She does some crazy shit in this film that made my jaw drop, and that's another thing that happened in this film. There's a lot of parts where they don't really hold back. There are parts that actually made my theater gasp. There are shocking moments. There are shocking visuals. This film isn't necessarily scary, but it does have a creepy vibe to it. It definitely feels somewhat of a horror film. I don't think it's really that scary, but it just has this crazy atmosphere to it, creepy visuals, and like I said, some sequences and shots, imagery that actually made my theater gasp, and it was somewhat shocking. But there were so many fucking fun and cool, unique visuals in this film that just made me smile, and I had a blast throughout the whole entire film. Is it perfect? No. I will say it does have problems with the overall script. I think there are parts of the film that feel somewhat underwhelming. There are parts of the film that definitely slow down, like completely. I feel like the movie starts off extremely hot, and then the second act of this film, I think, really slows down, and then by the end of the second act, it picks up again, and it picks up all the way through the third act. So overall, the pacing of this film doesn't always work. I think the runtime for this film is great, but I do think there's some things I think should have dragged out a little bit longer. Like I said before, some things felt underwhelming, and I think if you drag some of those things out a little bit more, they would have had better payoff. And that has to do with the overall script. I think sometimes the story itself can get really messy. Everything else in the film, the directing, the acting, all of that is perfectly well done. But I think the overall story and the pacing can get somewhat messy. And I think there's some things I wish they add in this film. I'm not saying that I wanted like 20 billion cameos. I know people online are upset about that. I'm actually happy we didn't just get a bunch of cameos. We let Sam Raimi make a weird-ass movie. Like, that's what I wanted. But there are some things I wish we could have gone to like more universes. I wish some things had better pacing issues. I know I've said it like 3 other times. I think if you add a little more universes and things like that, I think the movie overall would have had better pacing. But overall, I'm just so happy how this film turned out. I'm so happy we let Sam Raimi just go fucking nuts, because that's what this film felt like. Sam Raimi's like, we're going to do all this shit. It's going to be weird. It's going to be campy. Sometimes it's not going to make any sense, but we know it's just going to look fucking awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. And that's exactly what Multiverse of Madness was. I'm going to give Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness 8 Davey Daves. I really want to make a spoiler talk, but I really don't think I have time. I have a lot of things coming up, but there's a lot of things I want to talk about this film. There's definitely so many things to discuss. This film was just bananas. So, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. Let me know what you guys thought of it once you've seen it. I'm curious to hear. And thank you so much for watching. Click here to see more of Dave's Takes.